Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chai with Us podcast. This is episode number 47. I am Erica, the personal developer.
Hi, and I'm Ivana from Uncle Isabel.
Yay! And today we are going to talk about things that people told us that completely changed our lives somehow. We're going to share three sentences each. I guess I have
Yeah,
three. How many have you got?
I have three as well.
Okay, cool. And I'm excited. I'm always excited, but I'm excited about this episode because I may be sharing things that I didn't share before. Uh,
Ooh,
so let's see how it goes. It may go deep.
yeah,
I don't know. You want to go ahead and start your first and share your first?
sure. So my first one was shared with me by one of my grandmothers. I don't remember which one, but she said to make your own money and don't depend on a man for your bread and butter.
Ha! There you go. I love this woman already. That's it.
Yeah, I think it's important because our grandmothers probably came from a culture where most of them depended on the man for the paycheck,
Yeah.
and then maybe had to even stay in a marriage that maybe they didn't want to stay in just because they didn't have any ways to earn an income. And
Mhm.
so they were very adamant about this, about like be able to support yourself so that you don't have to depend on somebody else to do it for you.
Yeah, and I think it's beautiful that she shared this with you because she comes from a generation that's the mentality in general is
Hmm.
like you should get married and the man should provide. If that's your
Yes.
thing, I mean, there's nothing wrong about it. But I think that it's good that she opened your eyes to different ways of living, right? So if you want to
Exactly.
support you, it's up to you. But she opened your eyes like, okay, you
Hmm.
can be independent and not depend
Hmm.
on a man, on a guy to that's
And
really
it's
cool.
very empowering to be able to make your own money and to know that you can do whatever you want with your
Yeah.
money. You don't have to ask anyone for permission to do anything. It's incredibly empowering.
Yeah, I do have a thing about like I don't mind if people if man my boyfriend if he buys me something,
Hmm.
but I like to know that I have my own money. It's just
Yes.
like for me it's like a big thing. I need to feel independent because then
Hmm.
for me at least maybe there's a problem with me but for me at least there is something that happens about when there is like an imbalance on that's it's like a situation of power or less
Hmm.
power, you know, when the other person has he's providing for you. Like one thing is that you are in the phase of life that you need money and the person is there for you. I think that's admirable, and
Yes.
it can go both ways. But be in a position where you always depend on the other person, I think it's complicated because then you can feel trapped,
Hmm.
and we
Absolutely.
know a lot of stories, unfortunately, about women that were trapped in their marriages because they didn't know how to provide for themselves. They didn't know anything
Hmm.
about finance or how much money do they actually have on their accounts.
Yes.
It was crazy for some people.
And
So
I think it's also important to take
advice.
care of your finances yourself because so
Yes.
many women depend on the man to take care of all the finances and they
Yeah.
just feel like, oh, it's too complicated. I'm not going to do it. I'll just let him do it. And I think
Yeah.
that's a big mistake. I think you need to have your own money.
Mhm.
You need to be financially independent and be able to take care of your finances and know where's every dollar going to. Like, what am I spending my money on?
Yeah. That's very good advice. And I think it's amazing that you got this advice for someone within your family, very close to you, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of us didn't have like this an example, a role model that would tell us, you know, what to do and show us that we can choose. We get to choose
Yeah.
what we want and to empower you. I think that's very beautiful. For example, I
Mm-hmm.
did not have that role model that told me, listen, you must be independent. You must, some guidance is always appreciated.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful that she told you that. That's
So
really
true.
cool.
Thank you.
Sure.
What's yours?
Oh my God. We're so similar. So my first one was actually from an old lady I used. I used to work in a retirement house, you know, with a lot of old people. I used to be the receptionist and I used to do admin work. So I spent about 2 years around old people and I learned so much. And it's crazy because I was so young.
Uh-huh.
I was about 20 years old, something like that. I can't believe I had so many responsibilities at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But I did have a lot of contact with old people um, and with seniors. And one lady told me one day, do not marry with someone that you do not love. Like,
Mm-hmm.
don't be with someone just to be with someone. And it was one of the best advices ever in my life. I was in some crazy relationships and very weird, and you know I loved a lot of crazy people, but somehow I always got to some strength to just pull myself out and do the
Yeah.
healthy thing. And I think that hearing things like that, you know, it sticks to your brain. I was so young, and I still
Mm-hmm.
remember to this day about the conversation. She got married to run away from her stepfather, uh,
Mm-hmm.
who was very abusive to her. A
Mm-hmm.
similar story to mine, and so she got married to escape. And she
Mm-hmm.
told me that story, and she was like, "Don't do that. It's not worth it because you're gonna get into another prison."
Mm-hmm.
And that was I think I needed to hear that,
Mm-hmm.
and it was very good, amazing advice. Just like don't jump into relationships just because, and don't commit yourself if you are not ready for commitment, if you are not even sure what's happening, if you don't love the person, like if you don't feel that thing that I could be with this person forever, not like I could be with this person forever like we're 16, right? But
Mm-hmm.
really that feeling of, you know what, I saw this person, like the good and the bad, and you know what, I still love this person pretty much.
I think that is so important what you just
Mm.
said, and it goes along with mine. I think
Yeah.
back in the day, it was so important for women to get married to have a
Yes.
sense of security and stability
Mhm.
because they weren't able to be financially independent. And or maybe just, we grew up with this belief, or if I just meet somebody, marry them, I'm going to be in love, and all of a sudden I'm going to be happy. And that's not true at
Yes.
all. If
Yeah.
anything, you might have even more problems because here's this person that's coming in with their own issues, their own problems that are just going to add more things to you as well.
Mm.
And so I completely agree with everything that you just said. I think it's so important not to be with someone just for the fact of to say someone, oh, I have somebody. I think that's what a lot of women do,
Mhm.
and I feel very like sad for them for them to feel like that's a must. Like I have to have someone, and you
Yeah.
don't. Like no one says that you have to. You can be happy on your own. You can be financially independent. You can make it.
Yeah, and if you are spending time with people that you do not love, that are not for you, then you are losing time. It's
Yes.
just and you are losing the chance to really meet the person that you are supposed to meet, because if you are
Mhm.
busy with a relationship that it's not healthy, it's not for you, it's not meant to be, then you don't have the time to look for the other person or the energy, right, to actually go for a healthy relationship.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think this advice is it was good. It was good for, at least for
I
me. It changed me a
I
lot.
think it takes a lot of strength to walk away from a relationship that you know is not good for you. I think because you
Yes.
always feel like you can change the person, or if you just stay with them a little bit longer, things will change. And that's
Yes.
not always the case.
Yeah,
Sometimes, like, you can't change a person. I think a person has to want to change themselves.
exactly. I mean, we're changing, we're evolving every day. I'm sure I'm not going to be the same 5 years from now. My boyfriend
Mm-hmm.
is not going to be the same 5 years from now. We are adapting to each other without losing ourselves in the middle, which is something that used to
Mm-hmm.
happen to me before. Like I lost myself sometimes in relationship, and it's hard. It's hard to walk away because then you are like, am I going to be alone? You
Mm-hmm.
know? And if you don't believe that you deserve love, then it's even more complicated because
Yes.
I don't deserve love anyway. I'd rather just stay with this whatever you have at the moment. Right?
Yeah. But you never know where love is going to find you. I had a teacher who on in her rehearsal dinner, she walked out of the wedding, like she finally decided like this is not the man I want to marry, and she walked out and she went to a bar with her maid of honor and they just started drinking. And this was like something like, 30, 40 years ago, that like you just didn't do that, like you didn't walk out on a wedding, but she had
Yes.
the guts to do that, and she met her future husband in the bar that
Oh
night.
my God.
So how crazy is that? I love that story. You never know where you're
Imagine.
gonna meet the love of your life, if you have one, and if you don't have to have one. It just depends on like what you want. Like you said, you have to love yourself first.
Yeah, true story. Oh my
Yeah.
God. That was so, imagine if she got, I'm thinking about the story now. Imagine if she got married to that person that she did not love. Like,
Yeah.
what will happen? What kind of life would she have? She would live with someone that she doesn't love.
Mhm. Mhm.
She would probably resent him for the rest
Yeah.
of their lives, or I don't know. But man, that's a good example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the next one I have is actually a quote that I read in the book
Hmm.
by Paulo Coelho, and it's from The Alchemist. And he said that when you want something, all of the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it. And I completely believe in this because in 2015, I used to work as a lawyer and I didn't like my job. And all of a sudden, I just quit my job and I went traveling. And the way that things happened, like in 2 weeks, I was still working, but I found a new renter for my apartment. I got out of
Mm,
the lease. I moved all my furniture out. I got a visa to India. And imagine doing all these things while you're still working 40 hours a week.
I
And it
know.
all just like all of a sudden all these like doors started opening for me and everything just started happening. Like, I had a party, a going away party. I left and I went traveling, and she read this quote after all of this happened to me, so that's how I know that it's true. And I really believe it. I think if you really want something bad enough in your life, the universe is going to find a way for you to have it. It might not be when you want it, but it's
Ah,
going to happen. I think that's the biggest lesson to learn is to
yeah.
wait and
Yeah, I love what you
it's always
said.
like that.
And I want to add something, okay? Like the thing
Yes, please.
about what you said is so interesting. It's not going to happen when you want to. But I discovered something, well, it's not new, but I discovered something within myself that when you want something, you got to be ready to receive it, yeah? So
Yes,
it's not
yes.
because you want something big that it's going to happen tomorrow. You got to be ready to receive it. So being patient
Mhm.
is very important. And I asked for things like so many times, and I was like, oh my God, when is this going to happen? And then when it happened, I was like, okay, I know why this happened only now. Because I needed to do this,
Yes.
this, and that in order to get here. So yeah, I love that you
Mhm.
said that. It's not going to happen when you want it,
Mhm.
You ask for things and, it takes time. It takes time. And you have to become the person who
Yes.
is able to receive everything that you want. So think about the person that you need to be in order to have all that, right? Just work on that and the universe will take care of the rest. I love
Yeah,
it.
I agree. I completely agree with you. I think you have to be, like you said, you have to be ready for it. And maybe at the time that you're asking, not everything has aligned for you just yet, but it's going to happen. So you have to have faith and belief and trust and patience.
Yes, true story. Okay, I'm going to share my second one, which is something that I heard when I was starting my personal growth journey. I was like a sponge. I was reading everything I could, taking all the free trainings because I didn't have any money, free trainings that I could,
Mhm.
anything. I would take anything. And on my self-discovery journey, I found Lisa Nichols, which is one of the
Ah, yes, I love her.
people that I most admire when it comes to personal
Mhm.
growth, when it comes to speaking, when it comes to having your attitude, the way I don't know, I just love her so much. And she always says something. She says, you can be your own rescue. And
Ooh,
for
okay.
me, that, like, seriously, it changed my life. because I was like, wait a minute, I can do this. I can do
Yes.
this. Like, I can be my own
Mhm.
savior. And it's something clicked on me. And I was like, okay,
Mhm.
okay, I'm on my, I'm doing what's right, and I can do this. I can do this for
Mhm.
me, right? Because sometimes we're like, uh, I need a guy to help me. I need a different work to save
Mhm.
me, to give me more money. But no,
Mhm.
you can be your own savior. And that
Mhm.
thing just made my mind blow like, and I was like, yes, I can do this. I can be my own savior. I don't need anyone. I can do this. And it's a mentality that I love, because even if you get help, you need to want to help yourself, right?
Mhm.
Like, it doesn't matter if you're doing therapy, if you're doing coaching, if you are meditating by yourself, if you are at a
Yes.
yoga class, like, nobody can do the work for you. Like, you have to want to save yourself, and you
Mhm.
have to have that attitude. So, like, I'm gonna do this for myself, and I'm gonna be my best friend, and I'm gonna do this. And so, what she said just changed my life completely. I was like, okay, let's roll. And my
I
god,
love that. I think
woof.
it's so important because it just shows you how powerful we really are. Like we are our own saviors, we're our own
Mhm.
healers. We can heal ourselves if we just do the right things that help
Yes,
us. And I think I love that because you're not looking for something outside of yourself to rescue you. Like you are looking within yourself to rescue
exactly,
yourself.
exactly, exactly. Because um, part of the healing and starting to, to fix your life, whatever you want to call it, is
Mhm.
just to realize that, like, you are responsible.
Yes.
You have to take responsibility, like what happened in the past. And for me, it was so cool, because not that cool, I cried a lot, but now that I think about it, the discovery, the thinking about, like, oh my god, like I cannot blame my mom anymore.
Mhm.
This is on
Mhm.
me. This
Yes.
is on me. I'm an adult now. This is on me. I cannot blame anyone else. This is me, my life, my future. So what am I going to do?
Yes. But I think so many people love to play the victim because then we get the sympathy and it's not our fault, it's somebody else's fault. We don't have to take any responsibility for the way our life is turning out to be. But
Mm-hmm.
it's much harder to be like, yes, I'm in charge. This is how I want my life
Yeah.
to do, and this is what I'm going to do to get there.
Yeah, it's hard. You have no idea what to do. You are so used to, blaming other people. You used to blame
Yes.
other people, and then all of a sudden, I have the responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
I know how it feels, but it's necessary. It hurts like
Yes.
hell, but it's worth it.
Yes. I
Hmm.
agree. I like that. So my last one is all my life I've been hearing like from my parents, we moved to America for you. We did all of this for you because we wanted you to have a better life. You know, we left our home in Bosnia and in Germany because we wanted to give you a better life. And so all these years I've carried a lot of guilt around with me and this sense of I have to make them proud. So I
Yeah.
went into a profession that I didn't necessarily enjoy. I worked at a job that I didn't enjoy. I lived in a city that I didn't really like, and I was living a life that did not agree with me, but I thought I had to because my parents sacrificed so much for me to have this life. And so I had to be grateful for what I had, even though it was not something that I wanted at all. But I didn't know what to do about it. And then somebody told me, like, listen, your parents didn't do this just for you, they did this for themselves as well. They moved
Yes.
to the US because they also wanted to have a better life. Like, yes, you were one of their main reasons, but they also did this because they wanted to like have a different life and they wanted to
Hmm.
stay together. And I feel like once I heard that, it felt like a weight was lifted off of my shoulders and I no longer carried around this guilt. And so now I feel absolutely no guilt. I do what I want. I work where I want. And I don't feel guilty at all because I know that they made a decision for our family, but not solely for me. And so this was such like I love that this person said this to me because I feel
Hmm.
like such relief and
Yeah.
I don't feel guilty anymore for living my life the way I want to live it.
Yeah. As a kid from immigrants, we have this tendency to want to make it worth it
Yes.
for our
Yes.
parents, carers, but it's right. Like, you didn't ask to be born, And when you are a parent, you have to think about like the life you want for yourself. It's not necessarily the life that your kid is going to want for themselves.
Exactly.
And there is this um, idea that hopefully, and nowadays it's, I think it's changing a lot.
Mhm.
And I shared before that I will not have kids, but like our kids, they don't belong to us.
Exactly.
And this idea that you have kids and they have to be a continuation of who you are, um no. Like, we are separated people, right? We are all
Mhm.
together and so on, but
Mhm.
we have our own soul. I believe we have our own soul and
Yes.
spirit. So waiting that you would perform in a certain way that doesn't match your who you
Mhm.
are in your spirit. I mean, I do understand, and I'm glad that someone told you, you know what,
Yeah.
it's not your responsibility,
Mhm.
right? And this is such a good lesson, because in life it's not our responsibility to make other people happy.
Exactly.
This go for our parents, our partners, and people need to be happy for themselves first,
Mhm. Mhm.
and then you can add to their happiness. But it's not our responsibility, right? We can
Yeah.
take care of people, we can do the best we can, but then we are responsible for our happiness as other people are responsible for theirs.
Mhm.
So,
I
wow,
think so too.
powerful worlds words.
And of course, I think my parents just want me to be happy because
Mm.
maybe sometimes they don't know what's going on with my life. But at the same time, this was more of like an internal guilt that I carried with
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
And not just that, but like, I was the only one from our family to move here. The rest of our family is back home, and maybe they're not living like the best life they could be living. And so I felt a lot of guilt. And I feel like after this conversation, I was able to just let it go, and like everyone is responsible for their own life.
Yeah, and when people tell you what to do, it's not like they want to hurt you,
Mhm.
or on when that they expect something from you. It's just it's their version of happiness. You know,
Exactly. Yeah.
think that this will make you okay, and
Mhm.
they are talking through their experiences, right?
Yeah.
From their point of view, from their glasses of, we came here, and this is these were our struggles, and this is what you have to do, so you don't have to go through whatever we have
Yeah.
to do. So it's understandable, and it's good
Mhm.
that you could set yourself free from that.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure, thank you. Aw. Okay, so my last sentence, it was, how do I explain this? Okay, it's a little bit of a long story,
Okay.
but I shared before here, I think, didn't I? I don't know. So my father passed away recently,
Mhm.
and I went into this like huge spiral, like crisis, crazy anxiety, and I was like scared for myself. I was
Mhm.
like, oh my god, what is happening? It's been a long time since I felt something that strong.
Mhm.
So I went and I spoke to a therapist,
Mhm.
and so I started my counseling sessions and everything, and I loved my therapist. I'm not with her anymore; she let me go. But I told her a story. I shared this online before, but never in a spoken way. But when I was a child, I was abused. I was in a very crazy situation with a lot of violence
Mhm.
and sexual abuse and like that. And when I was sharing this story with my therapist, because we got to the conclusion that the feeling of being powerless was the same. That was my issue. I was
Yeah.
powerless again, so I
Mhm.
lost my father, I'm powerless. This is a situation, I
Mhm.
cannot do anything. So it triggered me a lot. And so I told the story of how I had to help the person who abused me. So the
Okay.
guy actually was sick from cancer, you know,
Mhm.
and no one was there to help him. Like,
Mhm.
no one, his family, no one. And
Mhm.
I was the person who was taking him food
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And so my therapist was like, that's when you got your power back.
Mhm.
And I was like, oh my God, that is true.
Mhm.
Like, that's when I got my power back because I was powerless for
Mhm.
so many years, like in a freaking prison,
Mhm.
nightmare completely. And then all of the sudden, I am helping this person. Like, there is no one else,
Yes.
right? And I didn't think about this situation until recently because, I don't sit down and think about those things anymore, thank God.
Yeah.
And it was so good to, like, you know what, because sometimes I did had this feeling of feeling overwhelmed and powerless,
Mhm.
and through the recent years I've done a lot of personal growth work and everything, and this was something that was with me for a long time, like,
Mhm.
and it was so freeing to
Yeah.
hear her say, you know what, you got your power back.
Mhm.
Like 10 years ago, you got your power back. Don't worry, you have it. And it
Yeah.
was so important to me. Like, it really changed my life again. It was, I had a lot of hallelujah moments.
Mhm.
That woman, she was like, I don't know, she changed me. I feel
Yeah.
like this is Erica 2.0. I was already the advanced version. I overcame a lot of stuff, a lot of struggle. Like, people look
Yes.
at me, they're like, how is it possible that you're like this? I'm like, I don't know. I just worked on myself. And with this, I was like, I'm like 2.0, because I
Mhm.
do, I do have, I feel like I have my power back. And it's like
Yes.
simple sentences, simple words. That's when you got your power back. I'm like, yeah.
I think it's so important that she said that to you because it's so important to know that you are in charge of your own life and that you can change
Yes.
it. And
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah. And it's so cool because sometimes we forget that we've got the power. We've
Yes.
got the power. Like, until the end, until
Mhm.
the freaking end, we've got the power.
Yes.
And somehow I've always knew that, but I forgot.
Mhm.
And I do remember I have early memories of myself as a kid, and I'm like, what the hell? I believe in souls because of my childhood, because I've been through so many things and I've dealt with the things in a way that, and I think about myself as a child, and I think about some of the things that I thought, and I'm like, where
Mhm.
these things came from? Like, it's not
Yeah.
normal. And I remember as a kid thinking to myself, they can do anything with my body, but it cannot do anything with my mind.
Yes.
I was 9 years old. Who thinks that?
Mhm.
Like, you know, I may be an old soul. um, and yeah, it's like, so people just change our lives in a minute with,
Mhm.
something can just click and change our lives completely. So
Yeah.
beautiful.
I love that she said that to you. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
sure. Thank you for
So,
listening.
of course, we want to hear from our audience. What are some things that people have said to you that have changed your life? And how has that quote or saying impacted you in which way? So please let us know. Comment, like, share this conversation.
Yes, please do so. And we never say this. I think we may be crazy, but uh, follow. Click follow. Okay, start following us on YouTube.
Yes.
We are also on Spotify if you want to listen to us there. Spotify people. We see you and we appreciate you. Okay, because sometimes I forget that people are actually listening and not watching us as we speak. But luckily today we didn't do any crazy moves.
What are you drinking today?
I am drinking rose tea.
Okay, I'm drinking passion peach.
I have this. This is. Do you want to know what it says?
Sure, what does
I
it
don't
say?
even know what I feel about this. Love is ecstasy.
I don't know.
I don't know. Is love a drug? I don't know what the hell's going on, but thank you, Yogiti. Okay, everyone. That was it. Another episode of the Chai with Us podcast. We'll see you next week.
Sounds good. Bye.